Hey, if you're new to the art commission scene, wouldn't it be great if you knew exactly what our clients want? Wouldn't you love to know exactly what you need to help make your artwork stand out? Well, you're in luck, my friend, because today you're going to learn about the most popular niches that clients want, that there's a good amount of demand for, and that you can do with a lot of style. So I'm going to be letting you know exactly what works best for them, what you need to know, and if it's going to be enjoyable for you. So check these out. Few things I gotta get out of the way. There's definitely some that I am not gonna go over today because I feel like they're pretty obvious. First and foremost, not safe for work. You don't even have to really be that good to get into not safe for work, and not clown on anybody that doesn't, but just saying. And along with that too, furry artwork. I'm not gonna be going over this at all. And then lastly on here, AI artwork. Why? Well, because AI artwork for commission's sake is pretty much always a scam, and it's not worth it because anybody can generate anything, so therefore it has zero value. So if you're not interested in doing any of those, my friend, then you should definitely check out these. There's no shortage of MMORPG games. I'm talking World of Warcraft, Black Desert, Genshin Impact, Final Fantasy 14. Y'all, there is a huge market for people that want to have custom characters made. So what you need to know in order to get into this is definitely you have to have a very high comfort level, generally speaking here at least, with fantasy style artwork. So if you're somebody that's good with specific type of armor sets or costuming, and especially with different classes and races, this is really great for you too. Now this is pretty well open to mostly anime and semi-realism as far as I know. Here are my best tips for you. Number one is definitely start to draw characters in non-neutral poses. Start to draw them in dynamic poses. They're casting magic, they're fighting, they're slashing. Those kinds of things really appeal to people because that's literally what they experience in games. Along with that too, if you can do multiple character commissions, that's gonna set you up really well. And then also if you can do backgrounds, boom, that's awesome. When you can put that custom MMORPG character into a recognizable environment, boom, it'll blow their mind and it'll definitely set your artwork apart. So these are my best tips for you to get into this scene in order to have your portfolio stand out. This one's gonna come as a surprise, at least it did for me, but I have been seeing this one for literally years. And with the ever-growing library of Pokemon games, y'all, people want to have Pokemon trainers. They have their own original OC Pokemon trainers, and they would love to have them made by you. And these are generally really geared towards people that either do an anime or a painterly style because that generally feeds into what the general aesthetic of the game is right there. Now, if this is something that you want to get into, friend, let me just give you this piece of advice. Know some Pokemon. You don't need to know all Pokemon, but know some Pokemon. Be familiar generally with the systems of it, and that's going to generally allow you to work best with your clients on that. In order to make your portfolio stand out, you can have a pretty good range of stuff, but generally this is one of the ones that's going to work well with just neutral poses. People want to see just what does their character look like, what does their OC look like, or an existing character look like, maybe with a different outfit, something like that. Also, if you can do them battling and or their Pokemon with them battling, that's going to show off really, really nicely too. And then again, if you can add into your current portfolio a location, someplace that is in-game that somebody in that field would recognize, boom, you are going to stand out really, really well. This one is near and dear to my heart, friend, but Dungeons and Dragons and general fantasy characters. So this is when you're going to be doing adventurers and they're going to be going on quests and they're going to be having moments. Now, if this is something that you're thinking about getting into, here's what you need to like in order to really excel with this. Number one is that you have to be very familiar with different races, both human and non-human. I'm talking orcs, I'm talking elves, but I'm also talking like dragons, I'm talking animals. So you need to be familiar with creating not just humanoids, but non-humanoids as well. You being able to know and be able to replicate specific armor sets, specific weapons, and specific accessories is really going to help you excel too, because that is something that somebody is in a Dungeons & Dragons or fantasy universe is going to demand. As far as the genres that work out really well in here, it's pretty much open to everything, all right? Anything from realism to anime to painterly to unique styles. Now, I'm going to give you some best practices here because as somebody that does a lot of Dungeons & Dragons fantasy artwork, okay, here's what I noticed. First off, y'all, you got to know how to do dynamic lighting. You have to be able to do a lighting source that's not boom, straight from the center, okay? When you can implement dynamic light sources that are not just skylight, then you can do some really amazing things. Along with that too, if you can do multiple character illustrations and you can show dynamic interactions and you can show battles and you can show calm moments or tavern moments, this is really going to set you apart big time. And along with that too, full-blown illustrations. Y'all get super good at magic effects too. This is a real game changer, and it's something that's definitely gonna set you apart and make clients want to flock to you. Since people can mostly self-publish a lot nowadays, you're gonna find a lot of book cover and light novel illustration work for you too. And this can range, by the way, so if you can get into this scene, you can really do a lot. Real quick caveat though, make sure that it is always going to be your work and that you're not undersold for it, because there's a big danger in that. There's a lot of really cheap authors out there, but if you do get into it, here's what you should definitely be prepared for. In this, what's gonna really do well for you is generally, I notice people are wanting either a realism, semi-realism, or anime style. Those tend to be the big ones out there. And if you wanna get into this, here's what you can expect to do. You can be expecting to do overall scenes. You can be expecting to do characters and or multiple characters. And basically you're gonna be doing a lot of mood work too, because you're setting the stage. You're enticing somebody to wanna go ahead and read that book, to read that novel, to read that ebook. And that's gonna be the first thing that they notice. So you have to be able to market it in such a way that it's gonna convey the main character or the purpose of the story. So what do you need to know and like in order to get into this? First off, anatomy, because 9 times out of 10, an author is going to need somebody to do a character. Along with that too, though, the big purpose is visual storytelling. Can you tell a story through your artwork? Have you started to learn that? Are you starting to apply that? If not, I would definitely get into that. You're going to need to know how to make expressions on faces so that it is not just neutral pose, and it's also not pretty girl emptiness pose. It's really boring. Now, in order to make your portfolio stand out best, here are some of my best tips for you to include. Get better at mood lighting. Get better at using non-native colors on your illustrations, on your characters, so that it can tell a story. It can make you feel a certain way. It can make you feel surprised or horrified. And along with that too, get used to magic and special effects too, because that is also gonna make you stand out big time. It's gonna attract a large crowd to you in order to make your portfolio stand out. These are my best tips for this genre. Now, if you've been going at this alone for quite a while and you're still not getting there and you're not sure what to do, then you might need a little bit of help. So I want to offer that to you through the form of my Art Mentorship. This is a one-on-one personalized experience. It's not a class, it's not a course. This is you and me working on goals and priorities for you that are gonna get you money, that are gonna get you in the field that you want, and overall that are gonna get you at a much more satisfied level with your artwork. For all my clients that are currently in this, y'all know about the benefits of it, and I would love to work with you. So if you're interested in working with me as a one-on-one client and getting some one-on-one tutelage on how to get better with your art, make sure you fill out the Google form down below. I can't wait to hear from you. If you're somebody that likes to make specific scenes, locales, landscapes, and locations, environment art is gonna be great for you, my friend. So there's a big, heavy demand for environment art, and honestly, this tends to fetch a bigger price tag for you than just general concept art for characters too. People seeking to get into the scene generally do really well with either a painterly or a semi-realism/realism style as well. Here's what you need to know, you need to like. You need to like the landscape fundamentals. You need to know how to create a vast array of entirely different types of landscapes. If you're totally unused to this, by the way, I made 2 tutorials that'll teach you how to draw literally anything, and I'll link them down below to help you out if you're really interested in this. You also really need to know how to do texture as well too. And it's also gonna be, to that effect, a really, really good skill set for you to have would be photo bashing, because that is definitely going to expedite the whole process. Now, in order to make your environment portfolio stand out, here's what I recommend for you is, first off, you need a large variety of a lot of different type of environments. So everything from modern ones, I'm talking like maybe urban landscapes and things like that, all the way up to high fantasy. You want some castles, you want some really cool exotic locations in there. Far future sci-fi. Show me some things in outer space. Show me some terrain on another planet. Show some cityscapes, but basically you want to have a good diversity in your portfolio of what do you like to do. And if you can narrow in on one of those two, either modern, high fantasy, or future sci-fi, then that's also going to raise your overall price tag, your perceived value, and therefore your clientele as well. So try that out. From games like Destiny, Cyberpunk 2077, if you've watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners, if you've maybe played Halo or Mass Effect, y'all, the sci-fi and cyberpunk universes are always in demand, and they're pretty much always on trend, especially nowadays. Here I'm talking big, chunky, militaristic armor. I'm talking futuristic fashion. We're talking cybernetic components. We're talking modified people. We're talking about things that are not currently here, but will be here in the future. Okay, so if you really want to get into this, here's what you need to like. You need to love technology, like all components of it, because it's really going to help you out. And if you're going to be doing more casual characters too, really get into the habit of looking at avant-garde clothing. I'm talking like Paris clothing, like fashion show kind of stuff. That's going to really inspire you to create really cool, different looking future designs. So you should definitely make sure your portfolio contains a large variety of different armored type of characters. Everything from very lightly, casually armored into huge, chunky, like could have a missile bounce off of them or take no damage type of armor. You know what I mean? And along with that too, different degrees of cybernetics. You can have different humans that have been, or animals too for that fact, you can have them differently modified levels from just a little bit, maybe a couple, into like almost all the way cybernetics. It always works really well too. Along with that, be very familiar with sci-fi design for guns and weapons and clothing too. And then finally, one thing that's really gonna set you apart is if you can do those types of characters and do those types of illustrations with an illustrated background, which I generally recommend is gonna be kind of a cityscape and or a dystopian urban landscape. That's gonna help you really get set apart from the rest. Now this one is going to be definitely the most despised, it's going to be the least sought after, and therefore it's good for you because that means that there's a huge void for you. But any type of mech is really, really, really in demand all the time. And there's always something coming out, be it a video game like Destiny or Mass Effect or a big Hollywood blockbuster film that's gonna have a huge clunky robot in it. And especially like with the Gundam series, every single like few years we get a new Gundam series, right? This is going to produce a huge new slew of clients that wanna have awesome mech designs. And there's not a lot of people that like to do this, so therefore that means that there is a big market for that and people will pay for it too. Now, if this is something that you wanna get into, generally you can go ahead and knock this out in either an anime style, a realism style, and you can also get into it as well if you're into the 3D component. Man, people will love the snot out of that too. And if you like this, things you need to know how to do mechanics, how to do armor, how to do different guns and different ammunitions, and you need to basically be able to design something that can realistically move and not just look good. That's a big flaw I see in a lot of mech designs, is that it looks good, but there's no conceivable way that it could actually move and operate the way it's intended to. So you need to be a little bit familiar with engineering and how to actually put machinery together, so you can definitely study up some like construction equipment and stuff that's generally going to bring you to the best possible result if you're learning and wanting to get into this. For my overall best tips in this genre, here's what I recommend. Number one is that you need to have basically a pretty extensive array of different robots, everything that could be in the modern age all the way up to like nowhere near our current era where things are just so flippin' like starting to look humanoid, like kind of like Neon Genesis Evangelion-esque. Also, what works really great with this one, you got to know this, you got to know how to do special effects lighting, explosions, gunfire, make it not look cheesy, you know? If you can put these into a background, that is a even better situation too, because if you can go ahead and put that mech battling another mech and there's explosions and gunfire and all kinds of crazy hell happening there, and you could put them into like an urban landscape, or you could put them into a cityscape, or you could put them into like desert warfare kind of thing. So be familiar with how to do that, be familiar with how to do textures, be familiar with not only how to make the robot look pretty in its pristine form, but also when it's like battle damaged and scarred and burnt. And also to help you with that, no photo bashing, because that is also going to set you apart big time. Next is dark fantasy. So definitely since the advent of games like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and plenty more out there, there's a lot of people with a lot of really amazing, great ideas. So if you're a really big fan of any of the IPs I just went over, then this is definitely going to be a great place for you. And also what's going to need to happen a lot is you to do a lot of heavy texture work. You need to enjoy not doing just clean, pristine characters. No, people are going to need to be like beaten up and scarred and charred. Bringing that monstrous component to it is really going to help you enjoy doing this type of work. As far as styles that really excel into this, I see a whole lot of anime, realism, painterly, photo bash, 3D work as well. It just basically, this is pretty open to a lot of different styles, so it can be definitely great for you, my friend. You're gonna need to know how to do different armors, all right? Especially if it's like an Elden Ring character, you're gonna need to know how to do specific dark fantasy armor, and you need to be able to understand through the form language there, how do you make dark fantasy armor look very different from high fantasy armor, because they're not the same, y'all. I would also very much recommend that you know how to photo bash in order to really accelerate this, bring textural aspects to it, and bring some mood to it. Along with that too, special effects and mood lighting. Huge for this, because people are gonna want those big moody scenes and those characters that just look hulking and brooding and dangerous. And that's how you're gonna set yourself apart. Now, if you've been trying to get art commissions for a while and it just hasn't been working out, y'all, I want to let you know that there are definitely some things and some really bad popular advice that's been propagated forever, and it's got to stop. And you might be doing it, and that's why you're not being as successful as you could. So to learn about all these, you should watch this video right here.